everyone, and welcome to this fantastic and interesting webinar session today held by Vinculum to talk about omnichannel market and industry insights. And we have some amazing panelists and guests with us today to speak about this really interesting industry topic. I would love to welcome to the screen, sad that we can't be with you in person, but welcome to the screen, our very special guest panelists today, all of whom are experts in omnichannel from their own industry perspective. First up, I'd like to welcome Sachin Boracad, who is the head of IT for Skechers in India. Welcome, Sachin. Just to give you some context on Sachin, he's a very modest man, as all of our panelists are, but just to let you know who he is. He's got extensive experience of the retail and software industries. He's led a lot of companies and is now leading Skechers around all of the interactions that they're having in the omnichannel space. He's a tech leader and a functional leader, and he's had so much to do with the path of Skechers in using omnichannel software and mechanisms as he's been in his current role now. So thank you so much for joining us, Sachin. It's lovely to have you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for the quick introduction. Thank you very much.
That's my pleasure. And now we are going to move on to Raju Dadia. So Raju is the head of pre-sales and enterprise solutions. Hi, Raju at Vinculum Group. He also is a very deeply experienced tech executive. He's had 21 years in the retail industry and across multiple roles. He is very inspiring, and I can say that because I've had lots of conversations with him running up to this event. And he's really great at motivating his teams around all of the things that he's learned in his own experience through omnichannel in particular. So Raju, it's so great to have you on board. Thank you so much for joining the panel discussion today.
Thanks Anna for the introduction, and thank you for hosting this event. Looking forward for having good conversation along with you and the other panelists.
Yeah, for sure. That's my pleasure. And it'd be great to hear from you, Raju. And last but certainly not least, we have the fantastic Venkat Not. Venkat is the founder and the CEO of Vinculum. And I would say, even from the conversations that we've had in preparations for this webinar, just such deep technical and industry expertise across omnichannel and across how we're seeing digital business models just completely change the ball game in terms of the way businesses are interacting with their customers. So again, get yourselves ready for a really interesting and very deep conversation with some, I hope, very interesting industry insights, in particular on the use of the omnichannel. So before I begin, I should introduce myself very quickly. My name is Anna Green. I am the head of the digital native and independent software vendor business across Asia, Pacific and Japan with AWS, Amazon Web Services. And as I'm sure you can imagine, this is just as much an exciting conversation for me, given my customer base, as it is for all of you out there. So I'm going to try to keep the conversation upbeat. I would really encourage all of you to ask as many questions as you can while you have these fantastic panelists at your disposal. There's just so much that we can learn from them today. And what we want to do is make this conversation helpful for all of you out there, and ask the questions that you want asked. You know, go deeper on stuff that you would like to understand about. So that's the point of the conversation today. So let's kick off with really, let's kind of level set, because we often talk about omnichannel, and it's almost like a buzzword, you guys. And I think what's interesting to reflect on is that the definition of omnichannel itself has changed over time, particularly with COVID. So why don't we start with you, Raju? Can you give us your definition? What is omnichannel now? Like, tell us a bit about the landscape of what omnichannel actually is and how people on the call should be thinking about it.
Rightly pointed out, Anna, omnichannel has been, what omnichannel was there years before and what it is now has got changed. It is being evolved, right? Earlier, omnichannel was more like a luxury. Today, it is a necessity for a brand, right? And if I have to precisely describe it, it's now not a choice of a brand to say, I want to be only on offline or on online. It is now mandatory for a brand to be present on each of those channels where the customer is shopping, right? So the customer is dominating, customer is present on multiple channels, and the brands has to be present there. If you look at some certain numbers, right? If you look at it, a customer, almost 73 to 75% of customers today are browsing and making a purchase by going across more than one channel. So it's not that, traditionally I used to go to an offline store and buy, and I'm done with my purchase. Today customers are browsing on marketplaces, web stores, offline stores, making a very validated decision and then purchasing it. So omnichannel has changed. With COVID, things have taken a fast. It's gone into a fast track mode, right? And now brands are getting into more and more omnichannel piece. So later on in the sessions, we will hear about the use cases from the other guys over here also. But yes, omnichannel, what was yesterday, what is now, it has got changed, and now it is mandatory for the brands to opt for an omnichannel experience.
If I may add just a little bit there, Anna, historically omnichannel used to be selling on my own web store and selling on my stores. Okay, so essentially the brand was trying to give an experience which was consistent between own store and own web store. But today, people are buying from all kinds of marketplaces, global marketplaces like Amazon, eBay, regional marketplaces like Lazada, Noon, or Flipkart, Snapdeal, and category-specific marketplaces such as Myntra or a Zalora or a Nykaa, or a Tata Click. So what you're really looking at is, when you're talking Omni, that whole angle as the definition has expanded to include marketplaces as well. And it has an implication everywhere, whether it's technology, whether it is processes, whether it is the definition of the customer, the whole thing has changed. Okay, so you got to be omnipresent and shop across channels, right? And you have to be available wherever the brand's ethos are matching. You have to be present in all those channels.
Yes, and we have a representative from one of those channels in particular with us right now. So Sachin, why don't you tell us what the omnichannel looks like from your perspective as a customer or as a brand?
See, I'm totally agree with Raju, and just wanted to add on the previous conversation. Omni was just in retail, offline, much before the technology was there, because the inventory was one of the major thing, and if the inventory is not available, the store guys used to call each other over the phone earlier and used to check if the inventory is available, and that's why they used to do the transfers, and the Omni actually started. Thereafter, it went into a WhatsApp groups and all, and I think where the technology partner like Vinculum has built up the Omni Channel platform to to bring that bridge in a very standard and an organized flow, that the customer today, basically you see the customer is Omni everywhere. He is buying on online space, marketplace. He is also buying in Facebook, looking on WhatsApp, and all other technology stacks. And that's one way of customer going towards the Omni and purchasing their needs. At the same time, brands are getting enabled with the platforms, and that's where the web store, endless aisle app, the curbside pickup, all those concepts are being very much in demand, and I'm sure that is going to be very much would be capitalized by the customers and the brands in future. For us Skechers, we started our Omni journey during the COVID actually, and we started working with Vinculum on that, and then we day by day we progressed, and we've seen the Omni is not only the technology who aligns, but it is also the departments, because there is a retail store, there is a digital space which is my web orders or the sketches.in, and it has been facilitated by warehouse or my retail stores, and obviously the supply chain becomes a very critical element there. So bringing all them together, that is again another Omni of a brand to align, get it ready for any Omni channel to be implemented in an organization. Technologies are very much available, and It is just the right way of implementing it and leveraging it today. And we are live with 300 stores with Omni today.
I think that's such a great story for us about how Skechers is managing your omni-channel experience. I'd like to dive deeper on that and maybe reference a couple of statistics. So if you want to move your online revenues, so Venkat, tell us a bit about what you know about the industry in terms of online revenues now and through COVID, and then what you think the potential upside of online revenues could be through moving to the omni-channel.
So, there are 2 or 3 angles to this. So if you really look at what was happening in terms of the percentage of revenues online, while marketplaces and web stores were always in vogue, post-COVID, those numbers have radically increased. So from what we are observing is brands are targeting, by and large, they have moved from single-digit numbers to 30 to 40% of retail revenues coming from online and social revenues, predominantly online, and brands are also moving into social revenues. So if I then look at, this is an emerging market, single digit revenue to 30 to 40%. But even mature markets, if you really observe, US has possibly seen the highest rate of growth in the last 10 years in the first 6 months of COVID itself. Okay, so what we're really observing is even mature markets are moving from maybe 15% kind of percentage of revenues to something like targeting about 40%. So which means you just can't ignore it. It's become the way for people to shop. And interestingly enough, brands are adapting to it and capturing a percentage of this opportunity. And whoever is doing it quick is getting a better percentage of the opportunity. And as a byproduct, brands are also moving towards being able to become direct-to-consumer brands. And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but that's the opportunity there in terms of how brands are able to sell online, but also brands are able to target reaching consumers directly, even from stock lying from their distributors and things like that. Okay, we can talk a little bit of the use case as we go, but that's what we are seeing as the opportunity. And this is across categories. So in the beginning of the pandemic, of course, health supplements and sanitizers and initially office equipment and gym equipment, all of them started seeing higher online sales. But if I look at it in the present situation, I would say across categories, there is an uptake of at least 70% revenues more in each marketplace in all the categories, including fashion, apparels, beauty, cosmetics, and there's no category which is not seeing an uptake. And so that's where the opportunity interestingly is.
Yeah, and I want to, let's double click on that. So the opportunity that has been built over COVID for omnichannel marketing and revenue, you believe is going to continue to grow, perhaps not to the same extent as it has through COVID, or do you see that there's just, the opportunity will continue? And then the second part of that question is, how should people on the call be thinking about those different channels? How should they be thinking about how to use those different channels?
See, the beautiful part of what's happened thanks to COVID is the fear of online is completely gone away, even for people who have never used technology. I would say there are new category of customers who have come up. And whether you are a 20-year-old or a teen who is very, very comfortable with gadgets, or whether you're a 60-plus-year-old who has no idea of technology, both are shopping online. And I think it's a permanent shift in buyer behavior. So you got to tap into this and you got to be available on the channels. You just can't ignore it. And that's one angle to what I'm saying. But from a customer perspective, the store is a channel today. And that's the way I see it. Okay, I mean, that's a pretty radical statement to make. Whether you are in a store, whether you are in a WhatsApp, whether you're selling on your web store or marketplaces, each of them are channels. And you got to engage customers across all the channels. So, and wherever that means, of course, it's an important thing to consider that, from my brand ethos, I don't want to be on every marketplace. For example, if I'm a luxury brand, I don't want to be in a marketplace which is a discounted or a lowest price marketplace. I want to be in an exclusive marketplace. So obviously I have to have my go-to-market in terms of looking at where I want to be available. But the moment you dovetail onto that, then you have to be present on all these channels and engage with customers across channels. And there are a lot of interesting use cases is coming up. Means, historically, even when the pandemic started, vegetables and the essentials were being brought home. But if I look at it today, a hypermarket is driving a truck and bringing the goods to the residents. A jean manufacturer is driving a store on wheels and bringing the products. They're simulating a store and saying, come and shop with us, at the building itself. And I'm looking at a lens maker who is actually, saying that we are very safe. Our people, not just Swiggy and Zomato, even our staff, we take all kinds of precautions. They'll come to your residence and show you all the type of glasses and lenses that you're wanting to wear, and whatever the whole shop is moving to the house. And those kind of opportunities people are exploiting to engage with the brand and with the customer. And everybody is looking at various ways to engage. I'm also seeing, for example, one of the well-known cosmetics player launching a full-blown subscription model, where to engage with customers better, and they starting to send all new products directly home. So I'll keep going, but there are beautiful examples which have come up. People have jumped on the opportunity and have figured out ways to engage with the customer.
Yeah, and I think you do have a huge number of customer examples. So we'll go deeper on some of those later. But I'd like to go back to Raju now and just
before we go there, and sorry to interrupt, some interesting numbers here. What Venkat was sharing in terms of the growth of e-commerce, specifically in this COVID period. If you look at the global numbers, right? Today the e-commerce industry is almost around 790 billion, right? And if you look at the last year, as in 2020 has done 790 or 791 billion, to be more precise. Last year, this was around 598, which means we have seen a growth of 34%. And before this, year on year, the growth was almost 15 to 16%. So what has happened in COVID is the growth of this e-commerce have doubled up, right? Just from a year on year of 15%, in this 2020 itself, the growth has been doubled up, and it has reached almost 34% growth. So that's a huge boost to this e-commerce, to this Omni world.
Just to add there to Raju, a lot of example Venkat has given, Raju has given, but there is one classic example where, during the lockdown, and everybody knows that they need to immune themselves. So if there was a big shift on walking and running and keeping them healthy, and that's where the Skechers shoes were being demand, and we see the shift because the stores were off, and there was some hesitance of the customers to visit the stores if ever we have opened during the lockdown. But we have seen that shift of customers to the digital platform, and we see the huge demand out there moving, where all our offline customers and those people who are the new, wanted to be joining the fitness freak. So they all have come to buy the shoes, and shoes is the one thing which you need to really try it, test it, and see the comfort, right? And I think we also have that USP by default that we have the comfortable shoes overall. But that's made these customers very comfortable to go on online space, order it, and we shipped it with all these situations during the COVID.
Yeah, I'd love to go deeper on that, because we've talked about how COVID's happened. But what are the trends that you're seeing post-COVID? So you've just spoken about everybody wanting to get into fitness, which is, it's almost like an obvious corollary of what we've seen from being inside. And then Venkat, you spoke about the fact that we're now seeing different ways in which brands are trying to engage with customers on the logistics and supply chain context, logistics and supply chain context. So they're actually taking the the product to the customer as part of the omnichannel experience. I'm interested in hearing more of those trends so that people on the call can understand what the future of the omnichannel is going to look like post-COVID. And Raju, maybe you can start with that, and maybe each one of you could answer that question for us.
So on the trends part, right? Initially, omnichannel was, limited to 4 or 5, basically concepts. One was the, web roaming. Web roaming is more when you see in the store, you go online and you buy it. Then the second one was showrooming, where you research online, you come to the store and you buy, right? There was click and ship, which means you are buying online and getting it shipped from the store. There was click and collect, which means you are buying online, going to the store and picking it up. This were the initial trends of, omni-channel, how brands were looking at it. In this last, I would say 12 to 18 months, what have got added is, arranging pickup from the stores, nearest stores, or arranging the pickup from the curbside or your pickup locations, right? Specifically in the COVID, where the accessibility or the store accessibility was not there, arranging it from a mom and pop store or a local kirana store or any of the pickup centers or a petrol pump become a use case, right? Then basically getting or pushing the entire catalog to the customer's mobile using WhatsApp, and asking them to browse the product, select the product, making it more interactive, sort of a chatbot based, was also a trend where brands like Skechers and many other brands, the example that Venkat gave, the jeans brand, right? They started doing those personalized communication with customers. Every store had their unique database. They started communicating to their customers, sending the new products, asking them, to place an order, or the store used to carry 3-4 products to the customer's place. They used to then try it out, buy whatever they'd like, and the rest of the products used to return back to the stores, right? Social buying was also very, very much up, right? Buying on Facebook, buying via Instagram, Google shopping centers, So if I have to summarize this, making the product available to the customer, right? Bringing products to the home of customer. These were the few trends which got added, right? And basically, yes, the social distancing was also one of the concepts which brands started adding to this Omni network to add more and more sales. So these are the few trends I would say last 12 to 18 months during this COVID period have got added, and the personalization has been the underlying statement during this whole, improvisation of Omni scenarios.
Okay, thank you for that. I might pass to Sachin now. What are your thoughts on that? Trends post-COVID on the Omni channel?
For us, I mean, the personalization and reaching to the customers, I mean, I totally agree with Raju what he said in terms of we have seen the customers reaching on the stores or the store managers on WhatsApp, and ordering on the web as well. And we have seen that this, the store has fulfilled the order and it has been delivered by store staff to the customers. And we have a very success in that, and we have got the comments as well from the customer, and we have been appreciated where we were able to deliver the shoes in 30 minutes of his order from the nearest store. I mean, that was on the social media as well. I mean, then the customer just said that, did I order a pizza or a shoe? That's kind of the experience. Ultimately, we are giving the customers through omni-channel during the COVID and post-COVID scenarios. And yes, and we will be definitely moving forward with a lot of other experience, enrich the experience of the customers through omni-channel platform. And that's something which we will be, keep on investing and further doing the science. We'll start re-engineering and doing the science on that.
Great. And then I think, again, Venkat, you're going to have so many examples here. So just your thoughts on trends post-COVID in omnichannel. And then secondly, I'd like us to move on to looking at international and globalization routes through the omnichannel. And maybe you can give us some context on that. But first, trends, if you could, Venkat.
So it means if we look at different aspects there. So the first thing we spoke about was engaging with the customer. That's what I was referring to. So there are brands who are coming in store on wheels and making it available into the building itself. That's one trend. And we are also observing that people are plugging into the residential community apps itself and making products available into the closed communities. Even if, for example, there are 1,000 families where I live, there is a community app where I can book a tennis court or a swimming pool kind of thing. There itself, people are actually promoting and making products available. So that's another interesting angle in terms of making products available and engaging with the customer. Now, if I just shift towards what's happening in terms of the store obviously has to make sure that it is safe for customers to visit the store. So there are interesting changes which have been made to make sure that the number of people in the store is limited to what is safe in terms of social distancing. Okay, so which means people are making appointments and people are saying X number of people available, can be allowed inside the store, the rest have to wait. And, means they're also engaging with people as they wait. Okay, so it's quite interesting when you think about it. So they're making sure that, people get either, you waited for 15 minutes with us, here is a 50 rupee coupon for you to shop with us today. Right, means I've seen things like that, which is very nice, right? Means you're incentivized to shop more. And I used to see that in airlines when the flights were late. Now they used to give us a nice little coupon to spend. So so that you don't feel bad. So this is a second angle to it. Okay, and the third angle, what I'm means of course from a store perspective. From launching an omni-channel, if you really look at it, what we have made available could be a very interesting, I won't call it a trend, but if I look at what we did with Skechers, the omni-channel is not restricted just to the company stores. We worked with Skechers to make it available across franchises. So what Sachin was talking about, the 30-minute deliveries and making product instantly available to the customer, across board, we enabled even the franchisee stores to be part of omnichannel. I also see a question on the chat box while we were talking on the same topic. So what we did there was we were trying to from a reconciliations perspective, we have an Omni reconciliations module through which you could actually set up what payments need to go to the company's sales associate and what money needs to go to the franchisees in terms of commission payments, etc. All of that is automated based on the ownership and other parameters which are easily, you can set it up. So Skechers, when Sachin brought it up to the for a business approval, he showed his CFO how this has to be done. Sachin can talk a bit more on it as to extend to what I'm saying, but primarily, we did a pilot to showcase that this is doable. And today, all the franchisees get a simple automated way in which they know what payments are coming. In fact, there is a dashboard on which they know how omni-channel is benefiting them and what revenues they are making from omni-channel. So, in fact, that makes it even more easy for adoption because everybody knows what benefit is coming. So, this is something which brands can exploit to make sure Omni is extended across the network. So, so this is reaching customers is one angle I was trying to bear and look at from. The second angle is extending it to franchisees. The third angle is, means as people still are not shopping at the same velocity as what they used to from stores. And from what has happened is many brands had inventory stuck with distributors. So because, the typical model is the brand sends the goods to the distributor and the distributor supplies to stores. And today, if the volume of sales reduces in the stores, the inventory lying with the distributor goes up. So we have seen some very interesting use cases where the inventory lying with the distributors have been made open for fulfillment of online orders. So from the web store and even from the marketplaces. So which means technically, let's say, I don't think Skechers does it, but I'm just explaining. If Skechers had 10 distributors and inventory is lying with the distributors, and Skechers could technically fulfill the online orders even from inventory lying with the distributor, and connecting it to the hyperlocal player like a Ninja Van in Singapore or a Grab taxi or a Swiggy in India, and make it or a Shadowfax kind of a player, and you could deliver direct to the consumer. What we saw is this kind of a use case. Big players like Procter and Gamble and ITC have adopted to this kind of a model by working with us. So this is something which we are seeing as a massive trend. And there's again a question in the chat box saying that, is it difficult to launch new products? I can safely say Procter and Gamble launched a new baby diaper using a D2C model. So which tells you that this is a very, very much converting big brands into a D2C is a clear trend. So in terms of being able to reach consumers directly. So that's a third scenario. I'll hold on there because I'll keep going otherwise, but we'll let Sachin add on to the franchisee angle, how easy or difficult it was for Sachin to open omnichannel to the franchisees.
One more thing before over here, what Venkat said, many a times brand feel omnichannel is all connecting their online and offline stores, right? That's not the case here. The omnichannel can also be making your distributors participate in your journey, making your vendors or sellers also participate in your journey, which means the inventory lying in your distributor's area or distributor's warehouse, inventory lying in your vendor's warehouse, right? Or inventory lying in your stores or your own warehouse, wherever possible network you have inventory. If the best way you can orchestrate those orders, push those orders to those channels and get them fulfilled, that's the true omnichannel. So many brands have a think that when we talk omnichannel, it's all about offline stores. It's not. And there's a trend which is going in the market today where big retailers, they don't do the fulfillment by themselves. They have their sellers or they have their vendors carrying their inventory. They get the orders generated, push those orders to them and ask them to fulfill those orders. So that's also part of the omni trend that is now seen in the market, and more brands and retailers are opting for that. Yep. Sachin, over to you for the Skechers franchisee use case.
Thank you, Raju, and well said, Venkat. See, Vinculum or the reconciliation module was the X factor overall. When we chose Vinculum, and we know that we are being 70% franchisee-driven business, and when we wanted to have the fulfillments coming from franchisee stores, the major pain area has always been that what has earned by the franchisee, and keeping the books so clean and neat and clean, and ultimately commissions and all that stuff, right? That becomes the important factor from the accounting perspective and giving the benefits to the franchisee. And that's what the way we discuss with Vinculum in all our use cases and business scenarios, and we customized it in a manner the way we function, and that's where we were able to start launching it into franchisee stores. Adding to it, how the visibility is also important, where franchisee should know that how much he has contributed and how much he has earned, right, on a daily basis or on a monthly basis. And that's what the dashboard and the day-end reports, weekly reports make the difference, where the franchisees get the entire transparency of their inventory moving across through omnichannel or through digital platforms. That's the thing which I want to add here.
Yeah, so I love that the three of you together could very easily have this conversation with nobody in the middle, because you are just such industry experts that you kind of bounce off each other. So I feel like I'm just happy to be listening to you all. What I would like to do though is go a bit deeper on the international piece. and just to understand how omnichannels can help in particular, any use cases, Venkat, that you have seen, which allows customers to go global using omnichannel, different models of omnichannel engagement.
There are a couple of questions, Anna. If it's okay, we'll just close that in terms of, I'm just noticing that which is related to the franchising. Then we'll go to the international piece, if that's okay.
Of course.
So Sachin, there is a question where people are asking how easy or difficult it is for making sure that franchisees actually participate in this program, right? So did you guys find it easy or difficult? So do they readily agree to allow the consumers to shop from Skechers website and get it fulfilled from the franchisee? And what does it take to increase and gain the confidence? That's one of the questions you may want to take, which is related to the point which we are talking.
It's a good question, and I totally correlate because we have gone through that journey. I would say that it was not that easy to convince the business or the franchise, especially, to put his inventory, across the Omni channel, and because we are into outright business, right? And it's his inventory, and further we are asking to fulfill to the customer, which is not walking to his space, right? So there was a lot of business involvement, and the retail business took the lead out there, and they were able to really make understand in terms of how important is Omni to be part of omni-channel journey. And the important part there to be added is the replenishment part, or the inventory which is getting stuck at their stores, because that is another part of omni-channel where the inventory is being fulfilled and it is being moved out to get the new merchandise or keep the freshness of the store. So, and that was one of the major point which the franchisee were able to understand it. And obviously, again, that money in the end, how much money they will be getting and how transparent it would be. So that Vinculum, demonstration, and we did the pilot with their few stores, building their confidence, gradually, and then there were a lot of buy-in came in later point of time.
Okay. Great.
To add what Sachin said, we also came across a brand where they did not have franchisee stores. They had all company-owned stores, but they were finding it little reluctancy from the stores to participate in their online journey, right? Because the store staff was earning an incentive, or there was an incentive program running for an offline setup. So this reconciliation platform, what Sachin has been talking about, the platform was also able to reconcile those incentive programs for the store, participate in them, and make the store or the store guy also feel part of this whole process, which means the store is sharing the inventory for an online order, fulfilling that order, and on that the store guy is able to earn incentive, which means the efficiencies and everything will come much better in terms of they participating into this whole engagement. So this reconciliation platform, whether it is for a franchisee to calculate their commission or an own store to calculate their incentive program, it does wonders when it comes to fulfilling orders from the store.
Just want to add well said, Raju, and I think the store staff, the store team buy-in was the most important part of that, because they are not only catering the walk-in customers in the stores, but they are also going to, they need to fulfill the orders coming on the screen where they have to fulfill those. And I think that buy-in was very much important, and ultimately they know that the inventory is something which they are being accounted for, and giving them the confidence that if it is being shift, the fulfillment is happening not from the POS and it from the the endless aisle app, and the inventory is getting deducted from their POS system, or giving that confidence was another element to get them on this platform, and fulfilling it more, or because initially we also see that the rejection was there in the when the order was coming to them, but then the overall journey when they have started using it, the pain area has been addressed. I think thereafter the whole journey was been a smooth for us.
Well, back to you, Anna. So we'll
Yes.
now look at your question. Maybe you want to repeat the question a bit so that we went off on a different trajectory. You were
Not
talking
at all.
about,
I think it's important that we speak to the questions in the chat as well. So I wasn't sure if we were going to do it at the end or through. So this is a great way to do it.
Yeah, since it was related to what we were talking, I just jumped in and took that.
No, I think it's great. And look, again, it made me think. I mean, we want to talk about how customers can go global using omnichannel technologies, but I think even before that, do we want to dive deeper on the supply chain and logistics and inventory management that goes along with the omnichannel that makes it a better outcome for businesses? I think that at a high level, that's one of the conversations we want to have. And Sachin, you just went a little bit deeper on that from your perspective. Venkat, have you got any use cases or any insights on that from your perspective, or you, Raju?
I'll let Sachin go first or Raju go first. I can jump in after that. Sachin, do you want to do it?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, Anna, I just lost you for last 15-20 seconds.
No, let
Can you
Sachin
repeat
talk.
that?
Yeah, let Sachin
Okay.
talk. You can pick it up. Yeah.
So basically, the inventory and the logistic, yes, that is the most important and critical factor, to complete the omni-channel journey of the customer. So as I said, I mean, loss of sales or, the optimization of inventory is the important factor, and that gap has been fulfilled by omni-channel platforms. What we also try to explore in the initial stage, and we are getting success, is we were not totally relied on the 3PL partners, that is logistic. What we also innovated is the store staff delivering the merchandise to the doorstep of the customers. So if the customer's order is within these 5-6 kilometers range, we have an option in omnichannel to for the store to select if it can be delivered through the store staff and not by the 3PL. So that was and that's where I mentioned earlier that the customer said that you go, okay, I mean, did I order a pizza or a shoe? And that has been very innovative as well as success for us. And thereafter the the local hyper players and the logistic partners make the where the store staff doesn't really go to fulfill the order. There the logistic partners deliver the merchandise.
So if I were to just take the view of see, the inventory could be lying in your own store. Inventory could be lying in your franchisee stores. Inventory could be lying in my warehouse or a third-party warehouse. Inventory could be lying in a marketplace or with a distributor. So there are multiple locations where the inventory may be lying. Now the important angle is, what is omni fulfillment for you? Means, are you allowing fulfillment from store? So buy online and pick it up from store. That is one aspect of omni fulfillment. The other aspect is we spoke about how to onboard franchisees and make sure they're part of the program and allow fulfillment of online orders from the inventory they carry. Now the interesting angle is, if you look at it from a marketplace perspective, a marketplace means I sell on Amazon is something we hear, but there is a lot of interesting models that marketplaces have. They have a B2C model where you can ship the orders from your own warehouse. They have a B2B model by which, I mean, they could do the fulfillment themselves. If I take Amazon, you could either keep the inventory in their warehouse and you have a concept of fulfillment by Amazon by which they promote the product to the prime customers. You also have a concept of something called seller flex, by which you could essentially segregate inventory for Amazon in your own warehouse, or you make the inventory available in terms of visibility to Amazon so that they can still promote to their prime customers. And this similar models, right? And of course, when I say Amazon, I'm giving an example. Similar models exist with Noon or a Lazada or a Shopee or a Flipkart. So every marketplace has it. Um, and increasingly, we are also observing marketplaces are also enabling omni-channel fulfillment. That means even marketplace orders, if you're part of the program, they'll fulfill from your stores. So increasingly, you got to each channel is moving into a B2C, B2B, and omni-channel fulfillment kind of a model. So both from a technology and from a process perspective, you should be ready to cater to this. Okay, because it is not so simple that, you know, it's one thing to say that, okay, great, I'm omni-channel, or great, I'm selling on a marketplace. The kind of process which goes in the background is quite complex in terms of, you know, you need to think through, you need to make sure that you do a simple wireframe, put down the process, make sure that everybody understand how the process will work. You have to think about training your store staff and your warehouse staff. You need to make sure that they know where to find the product inside the store. These are all real challenges, but each of them, you know, you can take quick and dirty approaches to start, and you keep refining and improving so that you don't miss out on the opportunity. And it's not, technology is there to enable it. These are all, while it sounds complex, the implementation can be rapid. Okay, because we are thought through these kind of situations.
So you're encouraging people out there to be agile and think differently about just basic stuff like stock management, inventory management, and don't be scared and experiment with the technologies that are at your disposal. And, you know, as you say, giving some really interesting use case examples of industries, FMCG, fashion, you know, jean shops. I love the way that you use that as an example of how to think differently about your customer experience, but inventory management more specifically. But listen, while we have time, I note that we've just been joined by Pamela. Pamela is joining us from Crystal Time in Singapore. Pamela, please come on screen. Hi, Pamela. We can only see the top half of your head, unfortunately, which is very sad. There you are.
Oh, yeah, that's a little better.
Little bit further down.
And Pamela, you'll have to unmute yourself as well, Pamela.
There we are. So Pamela is joining us, and Pamela is joining us from Crystal Time, as I said, in Singapore, and has been working closely with the Singapore government to think about use of omnichannel in terms of international and global markets. Pamela, we'd love to hear from you in terms of how you're using the omnichannel and how you're seeing that work in an international context.
Right. Yeah. So when COVID happened, the Singapore government has encouraged a lot of us to move towards digital, and also to expand our reach. So if you, so I thought this was very useful because I think one of the opportunities we wanted was, of course, to expand our geographical boundaries. So currently we are a distributor, and being a traditional distributor, you are very confined with the location that you're based in order to sell and merchandise your products. But with the opportunity of e-commerce to add on to our current channels, that has allowed us to expand our reach beyond Singapore, which is a very small market, to tap into more international markets as well.
And can you tell us what your experience has been with that? I mean, I think a lot of people would like to understand it because omnichannel in particular is a bit confusing for a lot of people out there who are used to a singular marketing approach. So how have you been thinking of that journey from a customer perspective?
Okay, so I think that omnichannel, it's definitely from a customer's perspective of an omnichannel, I think it gives them more opportunity to see what is available on the worldwide market. The challenge is, of course, moving to omnichannel. It's very different from a brick and mortar model where, you know, you just get your hands dirty, get it over and done with, and you can see the results. Whereas with an omnichannel or e-commerce, sometimes you have problems that you have no idea, you know, how to solve. And I think that's where, you know, partnering with Vinculum helped a lot, because I think they have encountered such problems before and they have experience dealing with it. So the learning process working with them has is a lot faster, it's a lot shorter. compared to if I were to figure out on my own. Honestly, if I did it on my own, I probably would have taken 3 to 4 times longer and spent much more time trying to figure out what are the hiccups that I encountered. So I think having someone who's an expert in that to guide you through definitely helps.
So tell us about some of the marketplaces that you have been able to list on through thinking through using the omnichannel. Like how have you used the omnichannel for Crystal Time?
Okay, so one of the channels that we have used is actually eBay. Actually it's fantastic because I didn't realize that you know, I always thought eBay was just either an auction house or you just buy and sell. So I was actually quite surprised that they actually have things like a function to like negotiate with your customer. You know, so your customer can counter offer, you can offer back and stuff like that. So it's almost like you are in a store, except that you're waiting for the customer to communicate back with you on negotiating on a product. So actually I enjoy that a lot. And I think that is probably one of our more successful integrations into omnichannel. There are a few others as well, but it takes a while to learn and understand how each platform works. And I think, you know, putting something onto e-commerce doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get business instantaneously. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to drive traffic, to drive awareness about your product. And to be honest, I'm still figuring it out. But yeah, it's a learning process and it's not as straightforward. It definitely requires a lot more effort. It's no different from a traditional brick and mortar where you have to run promotions and you have to drive traffic to your store. So imagine instead of doing that on the brick and mortar, you're doing that on the e-commerce channel. And that's what we, you know, we are trying to learn and figure out how to increase our footfall into our web store. Yeah.
And which markets have you been able to penetrate? Like what have you seen as a different consumer base as a result of omnichannel?
I think there's no one particular market, but the reach is pretty amazing. Like I think we even had a customer based in Paraguay, if I'm not wrong. You know, so basically, you know, they will ask me like, oh, do you ship here? I'll be like, hold on, let me check if my shipper can send there. As long as my shipper goes there, you know, honestly, anything goes. So yeah, that's pretty amazing. Like I would never expect to hear from customers in South America, you know, or even Northern Europe, you know, to get in touch with them in that sense. Yeah, so that's actually fantastic. And I think Crystal Time, for Crystal Times wise, we are also planning to create our own brands. So I think, and with that, you definitely need a global reach. So I think this was very apt opportunity and allow us to list our in-house brands on a more global level a lot quicker than originally planned.
That's great. Thank you for that, Pamela. Venkat, do you want to give us some context on that from your perspective? How do we see omnichannel helping international business growth?
Actually, Vinci, I think Pamela beautifully explained what I wanted to say. When you really think about it, whatever you can do domestic, technically you can do it on an international scale as well. What do I mean by saying that? Wherever, let's say there are many types. Okay, if I'm the owner of a brand, I have no restrictions to go wherever there is opportunity to sell. So then what I'm worried about is, okay, do I know how to sell in these markets? Is there a case for, you know, is my product profitable to sell there? What is the cost of shipping the goods from wherever it's manufactured to the target country? You know, what are the compliance requirements? How do I import those goods into that country? What are the custom clearances required? Which channels do I sell in? How do I market it? Like Pamela rightly said, you still have to market it. Everything is a channel. And going back to what I said, you got to think of each of these sales channels as a way to reach the customer. And you got to promote your products in each of those channels, whether it's your web store, whether it's your marketplace or whether it's a physical store. But the beauty is today the opportunity has become lesser expensive than before, for the simple reason you don't need to have a big team sitting in an overseas country, and you don't need to actually think about, can I import it, can I figure out what the compliances are, who will make the payments for me, how do I have a locally registered office, etc. These are all the issues that brands face. Okay, I was talking primarily from the brand owner perspective as the first use case. And what we did here was we realized from a platform perspective, just a minute explaining that, Pamela. So we are an omni-channel platform who enable brands to sell on any channel and fulfill from any location. So all the things we said happens through the platform, whether it is listing, whether it is order management, fulfillment, reconciliations, etc. The reason why I'm explaining that is there were customers who are popping up from everywhere globally for us. So we connected that and created a network of digital first distributors in every country. So what that means is somebody like Pamela, who is a distributor, or let's say is a brand owner, we actually have digital first distributors who are present in each of these markets, who cater to importing, who take care of the importing, who take care of the custom clearances, who then sell on your behalf on marketplaces and essentially collect the money or promote the products in conjunction with you, and the orders which are coming through, they collect the money and send it back to you. Okay, so which is almost like if you can visualize it, it's like your extended sales arm or distribution arm on a global scale, which is what we have created. Okay, so which means brands don't have to bother about what it takes to bring goods here, where do I keep it here. There is somebody who will actually analyze it for you and say, okay, where do you keep your goods? What is the cost for shipping the goods? What is the cost for keeping the goods in a place? What is the customs applicable in that location? And who are your competition? What is the price point at which you should be selling? And how much margin is available for you to sell? So not every market will be amenable for every category, but people can easily look at it, do a cookie cutter and explain to you saying which markets you can get into. So this becomes, when on one side, the technology has made it easier. And second is this whole virtual Uberized distribution network, if I may say. You can almost imagine as if, there are Uber drivers available everywhere, right? So that's essentially what it is. You just have to, as a brand, you're the customer who can use this network of Uber cars and you can get into any country that you want. Okay, so that's, if you can visualize that, that's what we are trying to do. Okay, so through this, many brands are actually going international, and I think it's a genuine opportunity. If you are already somebody who is having an international presence and you need help on selling on marketplaces, the platform enables it. But here, the whole distribution network, if you can loop on, this becomes an easy method to experiment and get into international markets. And from Emmons, I'm sorry I was explaining this at some length, but the idea really was this opens up the whole globe for the brands. Okay, in terms of our real strength is Southeast Asia, Middle East, and India, but we are present in US as well. And we have partners in Europe who we are putting up. The whole thought processes. This could be an aggregation model by which brands can go into any country they want. Okay, so if I go back to somebody like a distributor or even an American player like Skechers, there may be markets where they're allowed to sell and they're not present. This could be a model on which they can experiment. Okay, so that becomes a very interesting way to take your brand international. I would say people should be tapping on these opportunities so that they can convert COVID into an opportunity rather than worry about the revenue lost in some of the channels, because the other channels will more than compensate and actually help you to grow.
So it looks like we are very perfectly on time to start our Q&A session, Venkat. So is there anything else that you wanted to cover in terms of going deep on industry insights before we move to our Q&A?
Not specifically. We can start taking the questions and we can jump into any specific area where people would like to hear.
So please let me encourage everybody on the call, please ask questions of our industry experts. That's why we're here. We'd love to answer your questions and particularly anything that we can provide you with insights on. So I see we have a few questions and I'll pass over to our moderator to ask those questions of the panel. And please ask questions.
So Sachin, how does the preceding consumer's shopping time within the store impact the succeeding consumer from a consumer experience point of view? So which means, you're waiting outside and, people, obviously there's a limit to the number of people in the store. So how do you make sure that the experience is taken care and what is the impact there? I'm sorry, Sakshi was supposed to be asking. I'm taking the lead and asking you. I think this is quite an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, we never came across with this kind of challenge, and we never, we followed the COVID guidelines, and, the customers been working in the stores, and we never went into a technology stack where we were doing an appointments and making customers wait. But then it was very smart enough from the stores to manage and keep the social distancing within the stores. We've been having certain tablets in the store. So we have given those customers who were not attended by the staff because of the limit of the people in the store to serve the customers. So on the tab, the customers were were browsing it on the catalogs and everything, and they were waiting for their turn to be attended by the store staff there. So we never came across with those kind of challenges, and we made sure that the customer experience doesn't really have a bad experience there anyway.
So there are two angles to this, Sachin, right? One is you are using the Endless Aisle app to engage with the customer. So technically, in the Skechers store, you could means the customer can actually surf through the entire product range of Skechers and not even be limited by what is there in the store. So which means you are engaging with the customer. So what we have seen some of the other customers do, Sachin, is people have sitting in certain areas outside, and the application does allow for appointment as well. So people have utilized it in some cases. And
we came across with those platforms also, and we thought of doing it, but then I think before we took that kind of a cautious call, our store staff were and the operations has done a very commendable job there to manage all those without those kind of technologies available, and that becomes more like to restrict customer to walk in, and obviously there was restrictions and mall to visit and all that stuff was in there. So we never came across that the customers are really waiting outside. The only thing which we try to make sure is that customer is not standing without any engagements, and that's something which we ensure by the store staff in the store.
Okay. I think one additional thing, Sachin, which you can also share here, or maybe if I can do that, right? What Skechers also did and what other brands are also doing, they were conscious in terms of social distancing, and when it comes to endless aisle, they did not want the customer to use the store tablet or the store kiosk to go and browse the product, right? True. Because customer was little afraid of touching these products or touching those tablets and using them in the store. So what they enabled at the store was the customer can walk in, have his, pull out his mobile phone, scan a barcode, and the whole list of catalog can be published on his mobile. So the social distancing, the way the catalog can be published on their mobile, they can browse then and there, place an order, or they can go back home and place an order with a window of say 30 minutes to 3 hours for the catalog to be available on their mobile phones. So those kind of experiences were provided to the customer to make them feel that yes, they can shop with all those social distancing norms.
Yeah, so I'm just adding that no touch shopping was the concept which we started in. That was one of our we have asked Vinculum to develop that, and that's where we were initiated that the staff send the link of a product catalog, which is a time bound duration, and we have kept it 30 minutes, and where the customer can, at his ease on his mobile, can surf and then place the order from there. In fact, not only place the order, even the payment links are being sent to their mobiles, and they can make the payment from there. So that no-touch shopping was made. We made sure that the customer is comfortable with all those COVID guidelines, and being hygiene as well at the same time.
So the no-touch shopping of Sketches is quite fascinating, actually. I mean, it'll be interesting to see the revenues coming and the orders closing through that channel, but it's quite fascinating.
Yeah, and in fact, that also caters our loss of sales to that certain extent, Venkat. I mean, because if the customer is just standing and if he's not been getting engaged, right, he has an option to walk away, right? And that's where we made sure that this catalog has been available on his device.
And there's another question for you specifically, Sachin. Are you seeing any customer segmentation in terms of the different channels? That is, people who are buying on WhatsApp versus people who are buying on the store, buying online. Are you seeing a specific difference in the customer category, or are you seeing the same customers shopping across channels?
In the initial stage, when the brick and mortar the stores were not operational and were operational with the limited hours, we moving to the sketches.in. That's our e-commerce platform. But then post September, I think the balance is still maintained. And as you said in the initial stage, that there is a certain category of the customers who were never used to be a gadget freak. Now they've been comfortable ordering through our e-commerce platform, and and that's where we are also looking for engaging to click and collect now, where we will put, that's something which we plan for doing H2 of this year, and we encourage the customer to see the store's inventory and buy it and collect it from the store. So that's where the roadmap going forward. Venkat.
Okay. And there is another question on comparing omnichannel and D2C from an operational perspective. So, I was talking more about trends there, just answering that since I was talking about it. So, there is a genuine opportunity for brands to go direct to consumer. So, which is obviously from a structural perspective different from means omnichannel through the stores and other channels kind of thing. But when we think about it, what I was really talking about is, means inventory can lie anywhere. If you expose the inventory lying from the distributor and make it available for fulfillment of online orders, then you are essentially extending your ability to fulfill the order in the fastest and the cheapest possible way. And that is something which people are taking advantage of. So that's essentially what I was trying to address there. Okay. And and there's a follow-up question on why is FMCG slow in driving up direct to consumer. I think it's the biggest opportunity for FMCG and multiple other brands actually. So for FMCG, it's a clear opportunity, and the big boys are showing the way. ITC and Procter & Gamble in India are showing the way there, and Unilever also has a different model here. But we are working with ITC and Procter & Gamble. So both these scenarios, they are adopting a full-blown D2C approach in terms of making the inventory available from the stockists or the distributors and making it available for fulfillment of orders. And they're promoting it by connecting it with hyper-local guys and delivering direct to customer. So we do see this as a massive opportunity for brands across multiple categories. FMCG definitely, but I'm actually putting my neck out and saying this could be for various other categories.
I think there is this one more interesting question there. So far we've been talking about inventories, orders, stores and stuff. There's a question interesting which says that loyalty program and how Omni and loyalties are basically engaged with each other. right? So we understand that predominantly the loyalty program was associated with the point of sale system. The customer can go at the store, buy, earn points, redeem points, or get recognized as a customer, right? The same customer, when he goes online, he buys on a .com platform or a brand.com, he would be, identified as a separate customer. And then there is no, unified platform who is tracking the online as well as all offline behavior. A true Omni loyalty platform would be, enabling the brand or helping the brand, whether the customers buys online or they buy offline, or if the brand has a network of stores or network of different formats. A true omni-channel loyalty program would say that irrespective of where the customer is buying, I will be able to track that customer, and I will be able to tag that customer that this is the customer X buying from store Y this product, going online, buying this, or in the online journey, he had added to the cart, left it out. When the customer walks into the store should be able to get a cart, or should be able to get a notification saying that this was the customer's last purchase history or last item that was left in the cart. So yes, omni-channel is also about engaging the customer on the loyalty front and recognizing the customer as one single customer, irrespective of the channels that he shops through.
Yes, I think that's a really interesting insight, again, coming through, and we're getting lots of questions on that same context, which is, what is the experience of the customer? So how is the mobile side experience or an app experience different from a push through WhatsApp? And that can go through to all of you, because you're all experts in different parts, I understand. Maybe Raji, you could answer that.
So how is the mobile site experience or an app experience difference from push, right? I'll keep it short here, but the mobile site it's on the choice of the customer. When they go to the mobile, it's on their time when they want to browse through products and stuff, right? Whereas a push notification works where the store is engaging with the customer. They are displaying the new products to the customer. Whenever there is a new product, they push that notification. Customer can see, yes, he can choose to react to that at the same time or later. But all those informations are flowing to the customer, not at his choice, but at the choice when the brand also wants to interact with the customer. So in a way, the mobile interaction or the app interaction and the push interactions are different. From a brand's perspective, both are necessary, right? As in, a good mobile site, a good website is required to engage the customer and help them to browse and shop online, as well as a push notification is required to make sure that the customer is up to date with all the new promotions, all the new products, and everything which is happening with that brand. So as a part of strategy, both are important to be there. Yes, up to what level, what depth, it is from brand to brand, category to category, this might vary.
Okay, thanks for that. And I would, again, I'm going to ask the question to Sketchers specifically, which is around omnichannel. So Sachin, in the omnichannel space, how difficult is it to launch new products or product lines? First question. And how does a company like Sketchers approach that? So when you're thinking about omnichannel, are you launching products on omnichannel, and how are you doing that?
See, we Sketchers, we don't categorize in terms of that. For omnichannel, we will have some exclusivity of the products on omnichannel and on the e-commerce space. So we keep the parity between both, and that's where the platforms are being engaged on a regular intervals, where the products are being launched on our Sketchers.in, and that goes in synchronized with our Endless Aisle app and the entire channel of the product, all the channels of the Omni channel. and the source becomes the sketches.in, wherever the merchandise is available or the products are available on sketches.in. That's where it is available for all the customers on offline as well.
Understand. Okay, that gives some context on how you're thinking about launching products. And again, I think maybe we'll go to the last question now, which is about India and the India retail market specifically. And this one I think will take to Venkat. They wanted to understand what the cross-border retail market is in India. And do you see this market picking up? What are the challenges and opportunities? That's an incredibly large question. And Raju, looks like you want to answer that. And maybe Venkat, you can also give us your view. So why don't we start with Raju and then move to Venkat?
Well, I would, looking at the time, I would request Venkat to take that up, right?
Absolutely.
I have one last question which somebody has personally messaged me. I would want to take it up after Venkat takes this.
Fair enough. So, no, means if simplistically, if you look at India, online is a large market. So I would say it's a bi-directional opportunity. There are high growth brands from India which can go international and can go into 30 plus countries really, where there is an opportunity. And similarly, international products are already here, and there is a opportunity for a lot of brands to enter the Indian market. So similarly, means tech is available to make it easy for brands to sell on marketplaces. We can obviously enable that, but also the distribution network can make life easy for brands to enter the market. I would say it's really a global opportunity. Means India is an opportunity really because of the size of the number of people and the disposable income being sizable. I think it's a market you don't want to ignore, and you want to pick it up in a way that you do your groundwork and you take help in terms of figuring out how to distribute. So I mean, just to put that in perspective, some of the distributors who use our platform, they represent about 600 international products in a category. So we are talking of sizable alpha sellers who are part of the network. So we can certainly enable brands to scale across channels here. But likewise, high growth brands don't need to be worried about how to enter other markets. We can easily enable them. Of course, there is a process there in terms of understanding how to do it. But as long as we are patient and working through the maze, I think all the questions can be easily answered. I think there's a genuine opportunity. Back to you, Raju. Question and answer.
Yeah, so the last question which is there over here is, what is the biggest challenge holding back organization from delivering the excellent omni-channel experience apart from the IT infrastructure, right? So yeah, one of the things which I would, from the experience that I would mention here is, breaking the organization silo, right? When I say this, I mean that there is an e-com team, there is an online team, there is an store team, and many a times when we speak to customers, we find that the teams are not friendly among themselves, right? Ideally, omnichannel requires a different mindset and a skill set when it comes to managing this whole omni operations, right? I've been talking to multiple clients, right, where they are trying to reskill their internal team to get that kind of skills developed, right? And to add that, many of them, hire enablers like Vinculum to make sure that their journey gets completed, right? One statement one thing that I would want to add to this is, none of these guys, whether it's an e-com team or a store team, should mind where the customer journey is getting started and where the journey is getting ended, right? If that is being understood well by the organization, I think this whole organization challenge which many of the brands faces can then be resolved. And maybe a couple of things Sachin can add, whether implementing Omni within their organization, did they face this challenge or was it all seamless? How was your experience, Sachin? personally on this part?
See, the important is, again, I said, it's not only the technology, but even the department has to be open. And the most important thing is the customer, the customer journey, and, who, from where the order is coming or whose channel the order is coming is the secondary part. Is the most important is that how quickly we're going to deliver it, and what experience we're going to give to the customer. And I think that if that is the slogan and mindset of the organization, which is customer centric, then probably alignment is much easier. And I think we gradually pass that phase, and we have been moving towards that as well.
Thanks, Sachin. Back to you, Anna.
Thank you, team. I feel like this has been like a marathon of discussion on Omnichannel, and I can't believe the amount of information the three of you have about everything to do with the industry. So I feel very lucky to have been part of the conversation. I think we have a question for Pamela, but she's not with us at the moment, so we can forward that through to her. But maybe this is something that you could answer, Sachin or Raju. How should a brand manage their returns sitting in their home country?
So when I'm sorry, I'm just taking that.
No.
So just wanted to add, Venkat, before you take it over. So,
please.
So returns. This is particularly for the returns, right? On the Omnichannel.
Yes.
But
Yes.
maybe we can cover both domestic and international. Okay.
I'll just give one use case what we do here for returns. So it is very straightforward, where the customer has placed the order, and the return request is going to come from there. So in this case, probably the web order or the customer who has shopped on sketches.in, he will request the return at sketches.in itself. And what happens is, through the Omnichannel process workflow, it goes to the channel who has fulfilled the order. So if it is a warehouse who has fulfilled it, basically the return goes to the 3PL, where the 3PL partner goes to the customer, pick up the merchandise for the return. And when it comes to the order which are being fulfilled by store and it has been delivered by the store, so the return goes to the store associates, and and then they take the actions of visiting the customer, taking the appointment of the customer, and collect the merchandise, and complete the process of the journey.
Let me ask you as an extension, Sachin. Let's say I bought a shoe from a shop, and I want to return somewhere else where whichever is convenient to me, because I went to one part of Mumbai, bought the shoe, and I'm actually in another part of Mumbai. Can I return in the other store?
Yeah, obviously. You try that.
Yeah. I don't want to return. I'm just asking you a question, Sachin.
You buy five, and just return one. I mean, and you end up buy 4, right? So at least that is also happening.
That's where it gets interesting. And I think the question though was more from an international perspective. They were saying, if there is an order and there is a return internationally, what should the brand do? So the way we are approaching this really is, that's the reason why there is a network of partners and the ecosystem created in the international market. So if you're present in the international market, you would handle it yourself, as like in a domestic scenario. But if you're using the distribution network, essentially it will go back to the distributor's warehouse, or it will go back to the logistics warehouse, from where you would handle it. And it is almost like you would treat it like a local return, and there is no difference beyond that. You could technically, the international is only a namesake, right? And of course there are rules from India saying that you have to bring money back within 6 months and things like that. So we actually handle that through a liquidation model, well ahead of the deadline. So if there is inventory lying there, we make sure it gets sold off. So we do have that as a part of the ecosystem as well.
So there's your answer, Sachin. That's what you can do going forward.
Now, of course, as an American brand, of course, their requirement is a bit different. So they will
I
have,
know. Yes, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I know that Sachin has his own requirements in that space. But listen, I think we are almost at time now. I'll just leave a little bit of space. If anyone has any further questions, please do send them in. We have marketing@vinculumgroup.com. I'm very happy to hear the questions that you have as part of this. Maybe something someone said has made you think about something. Please do reach out to the team at Vinculum. They're very keen to help, not just because it's part of what their business is, but because they want to help their teams and customers across their international footprint to understand more about omnichannel. And it would be remiss of me not to say a huge thank you to our speakers, in particular to Sachin and to Pamela for joining us, you know, to bring us the real customer context is in part of this conversation, because, you know, it's not a relevant conversation without hearing from people like you who have experiences out there getting your hands dirty and learning about this type of methodology every day. So I want to say thank you so much, Sachin and Pamela, for joining us. And obviously thank you so much to Raju and Venkat for so much industry insight and for keeping the conversation, you know, interesting and relevant to what people out there need to understand about what's going on in the omni-channel. So a very big thank you. Before you go, I am so technology savvy that I actually take photos with my phone. So I'm going to get you all to smile and say cheers, and I'll take a photo of us. And anyone who wants to, we're going to post it online on LinkedIn. And you're going to be able to...
I'll make a copy of that, Anna.
Of course. It's very bad quality, obviously, Venkat.
That's beautiful.
But a very big thank you from me, obviously. I learned a lot about...
Thank you, Anna, for coordinating and making us all stick to the time.
No, well, you did a great job, and I'm really grateful to have heard everything that you had to say. I've learned a huge amount about omnichannel. So big thanks and thank you to everyone for joining us today. And do reach out to any one of us if you have any questions about the topics that we covered today. Huge thank you. Let's the omnichannel is the future, as I think we all can realise after this discussion. And let's make sure that we all stay in touch.
It's a big part of the opportunity there.
For sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.